And we're continuing our breaking news coverage of Dr. Christine Blasey Ford's demand of an FBI investigation of her accusation of sexual assault against Brett Kavanaugh before she testifies to the Senate Judiciary Committee. And we're now going to reach back a few hours to President Trump's surprising reaction earlier today to Dr. Ford's accusations. We have never seen President Trump like this. It appears that Donald Trump is now truly, truly terrified. Donald Trump must feel the Supreme Court nomination of Brett Kavanaugh slipping away, and he sounds desperately worried that he could say something that makes it even more difficult for Brett Kavanaugh to continue to cling to the wreckage of his nomination. And so today, when President Trump was offered the opportunity to say what everyone expected him to say in a situation like this, he refused to say it. He was asked if the accusation of sexual assault against Brett Kavanaugh is all politics. The question was, is this all politics? And this is what Donald Trump said.
Is this all politics?
I don't want to say that. Maybe I'll say that in a couple of days, but not now.
I don't want to say that. For once, Donald Trump is in the tight grip of his handlers, who have obviously told him that this time he is not allowed to attack a woman who is accusing someone of sexual assault. Here's what Donald Trump said about accusations like this from women in Bob Woodward's new book, Fear. Donald Trump said, you've got to deny, 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 and push back on these women. But Donald Trump is not doing that this time. Donald Trump is finally doing what his handlers are telling him to do, and that has to be because Donald Trump is terrified. He is terrified of losing the Supreme Court nominee who jumped out of the pack of candidates because Brett Kavanaugh was the only one whose writing indicated he no longer believes the President of the United States can be subpoenaed to give testimony, something Brett Kavanaugh did believe when he was working in the special prosecutor's office that was investigating President Bill Clinton. Donald Trump was defensive about Brett Kavanaugh today, but not very strongly. He was just saying things like he's an outstanding man. And Donald Trump complained about Senator Dianne Feinstein not making these accusations public earlier, even though Senator Feinstein was working under a pledge to maintain the privacy of Professor Christine Blasey Ford. But after the president's kind of mandatory and half-hearted criticisms of Senator Feinstein and the Democrats, Donald Trump said something today that he has never, ever said before when he was accused of sexual assault.
We feel that we want to go through a process. We want to hear both sides.
We don't know that Donald Trump wants to hear both sides. In fact, we know for sure that he does not want to hear both sides. But imagine what it took. Imagine what it took for the staff to force Donald Trump to say, we want to hear both sides. Donald Trump has to be terrified of Robert Mueller, which means he is terrified that he might be losing Brett Kavanaugh's vote on the Supreme Court that could save him from having to face Robert Mueller after receiving a subpoena. And so we are seeing a Donald Trump we've never seen before. No angry tweets about Brett Kavanaugh's accuser, Professor Christine Blasey Ford. No attacks on the woman. The man who has never, ever, ever wanted to hear both sides of anything suddenly says he wants to hear both sides. And that is because losing the Kavanaugh confirmation fight is so terrifying to Donald Trump that he is actually following his advisor's advice. But the problem for Donald Trump and Brett Kavanaugh tonight is that the thing Donald Trump was forced to say today is the very thing that every reasonable person left in this country is thinking tonight. We want to hear both sides. And the Brett Kavanaugh side, we already know, is pretty simple. Nothing to see here, nothing happened, this never happened. That's what he's going to say. And we've already seen Brett Kavanaugh sit at that table in the Judiciary Committee, so we know what that's going to sound like. And so what we want to hear both sides actually means tonight is we want to hear the woman who holds the future of the Supreme Court in her hands. We want to hear the woman who Donald Trump now fears more than any woman in the world. We want to hear Professor Christine Blasey Ford. And you know that no matter what Donald Trump said today, that's the side of this story that Donald Trump never wants to hear. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.